Not all relationships are conventional.
Working in a sexual atmosphere, we both started to look really good to each other.
It was a very unorthodox relationship.
I saw photos. They're not in existence anymore. They got burnt.
For Rebecca Murray, a chance to spice up her life in the backwoods of South Carolina.
Around here in the mountains, there's probably only 200 people living up there.
For Lee Cawthon, a fantasy come true.
That's not something you normally see around Westminster. You just don't know how people are in their own homes.
Polyamory should mean more people to love.
Both of them had that spark in their eye.
They were definitely swingers.
But multiple partners can mean multiple people playing with fire.
She took off to her mutual boyfriend's house for a couple days.
So you're telling me that they just vanished? It was just a ticking time bomb.
Nestled in the lakes and foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, the people of Oconee County take life slowly.
Oconee County is a very rural area. It's peaceful, it's scenic.
Life growing up here is probably really boring compared to other places.
We're not completely caught up with the times, but I wouldn't say that we aren't progressive around here.
There is no big hub city where everyone can get together.
Lutricia Murray has never left her small town. Life for her, when growing up, is pretty simple.
We lived in a little shack, running water, went to the spring down the hill and hauled water from the spring back up for drinking. I've been doing this since '78. This is the way I like to live. My nearest neighbor was 1.5 miles from me. I could see him coming.
It's in the 1980s when Lutricia first dreams of starting a family. But often feeling unwell and with a history of inherited illness, things will not be easy.
I'd been sick for 6 months, couldn't keep even water and saltines down, and my mother picked me up and took me to the doctor. And he was one of the doctors that told me that I'd never be able to have a child.
Lutricia refuses to give up, eventually bringing daughter Rebecca into the world.
When she was born, she had amber-colored hair and amber-colored eyes, and she was just beautiful. I was basically a single mother. Her father took off. My mom and dad stood by me the whole time. She was the first grandchild for my mom and my dad.
As Rebecca grows, she and her mother blend into everyday life in Oconee County.
Rebecca was a very nurturing, very loving person. Even people at the grocery store, oh, you look beautiful. Oh, you're beautiful too. And she'd stand there and talk to them for 3-4 minutes. Hope you have a good day. That's a unique personality.
A personality her mother didn't want to see, restricted by just how quiet things were in the mountains.
I wanted her to get her education so that she would have more opportunities other than having to work behind a dish counter. Don't stay here, go somewhere where you can have a life.
On the other side of the lake, 21-year-old Lee Cawthon, 8 years older than teenager Rebecca.
Lee always had really big goals. He wanted to play poker.
Elite Franks lives near to both and will one day get to know them intimately.
He thought he could make a life for himself, a very lavish one.
He was pretty decent with computers, stuff like that. He was a great pool player.
Lee had married and become a father by the time he is 21.
Lee had gotten married, and he had 2 children.
They got married when they were very young.
It is through his children that Lee and his wife will get to know Rebecca.
The wife and him asked me, could Rebecca go spend the night over there and watch the kids? I'm like, okay.
Rebecca went over there to babysit, and she was really happy to do so. She was a natural caretaker, really good with kids.
Next thing I know, she's going over there all the time.
Rebecca is secretive about her time with Lee and his wife. Her mother discovers she is not being paid for caring for their children.
I said, Rebecca, that is not cool. I put my foot down. I'm like, enough is enough. I said, if they want you to babysit, I said, where's the money?
Lutricia bans Rebecca from going to the couple's house. But over the next year, she continues to visit the couple's house. until 2001.
Rebecca said she wanted to go spend the night with her friend. It's March 17th. That's the day before Rebecca's birthday. I said, okay. We were supposed to go to Red Lobster the next day. That was our special thing. But next day, I hadn't heard not one word from her.
The next day, Lee Cawthon's wife visits Latricia.
She was telling me what an awful person my daughter was for taking her husband away from her. At the time, I was like, what the hell is going on?
Rebecca is now 17, and she and Lee have become very close.
I found out what had been going on between him and my daughter. Yeah, your imagination let it take you away. You don't know whether to believe it or not, but I saw photos. They're not in existence anymore. They got burnt.
Lee and his wife had a lot of jealousy entangled in their decisions. It didn't work out very well for them. It left Lee and his wife getting a divorce and him pursuing Rebecca.
I'm in love with Becca. I want to be with Becca. My daughter is only 17 years old. And because she was 17 years old, she was legally an adult, and I had no legs to stand on.
Rebecca has been living with Lee for over a year.
I should have known you were something I need.
Her mother, having always encouraged her to travel, finds out that Lee is about to offer her daughter a way out of Oconee County.
Knocking on the door in the middle of the night. I just grabbed her. I said, I love you. I said, I'm so glad you're home.
I didn't know you were something I need.
And that's when I found out that they had got their truck driver's license and that they were team partnering across the country.
He was older. She looked up to him, you know, and he gave her the opportunity to get out of the community and travel and see the United States.
When he invited her to be on the road, they really secluded themselves. No one heard from her for a long time.
They were always together. The most they spent apart was like 5 or 10 minutes.
As the couple travels the country, Rebecca's mother can do nothing but worry.
I didn't know what had happened. For that 2 years, I had listened to my dad tell me, we're just gonna have to go identify her body in a kudzu patch somewhere. I'm like, gee, thanks, Dad.
It was really hard for Latricia. She had not even heard from Rebecca in months. At one point in time, they were even trying to pick out her headstone because they didn't know if she was alive or not, if they were ever even at that point gonna hear from her again.
I can't run away, run away.
Latricia does eventually hear from Rebecca, but not the way she wants.
I found out that they had gotten married. That's one of the things that I wanted to be there for.
They got married on October 31st. They had an infatuation with Halloween. It was their favorite holiday to celebrate together.
I wasn't happy about it, but she could have done a whole hell of a lot worse.
They were celebrating the love they had for one another. They took pride in the fact that they had marriage on paper legally.
Theirs is a relationship forged in an unconventional way. Marriage is not about to end that. They tell their friend from back home just how alternative life is on the road.
They were definitely swingers. When you're a truck driver, you either sleep in the cab or get a hotel. But like, when you do go to a new city, you go to the bar, I'm sure they would hook up with someone. They used to go to the casino all the time with other people. You know, I didn't dig into who these other people were, but I mean, it's common knowledge, you know? If you're part of a swinger's lifestyle, I'm sure the people you're going to the casino and the hotel with are probably swingers as well. That's just part of the lifestyle they were a part of.
After 7 years on the road, an opportunity comes along for Rebecca and Lee Cawthon to go back and live at the lake in Oconee County.
Lee's grandfather had passed away, so he inherited some land and a house. So I feel like once he found out that he was able to settle down roots somewhere, they were quick to return to that and start a home life.
Lutricia reluctantly accepts her daughter's choice.
Like Daddy said, you can't make them do what you want them to do. They're going to do what they're going to do.
They really didn't have a choice but to accept it if they wanted their daughter back.
Along with the inheritance of a home, money, enough to buy a business.
They gave up on the trucking business and they opened up, bought a small liquor store in Westminster.
It is in the fall of 2013 that Rebecca and Lee meet Elite Franks. Elite also shares unconventional relationship ideas. She works nearby as an exotic dancer.
I'd been a freelance model since I was 17, so I have some modeling gigs here and there. Dancing is definitely when I felt like I finally worked a 9 to 5, just in the middle of the night.
Though Elite is married, she likes to keep her options open. During daylight hours, she spends time on a dating site.
Polygamy is becoming really popular. When I moved out of my parents' house, I got married to a Marine. That left me feeling kind of lonely, and I didn't feel as fulfilled as I thought I would have been. I wanted to be able to entertain a man and a woman that were already in a relationship with one another.
Lee and Rebecca Cawthon are also drawn to polyamory. They plan to invite a female partner into their marriage. Elite first starts chatting with the couple online, and the three agree to meet in person.
Black magic, ecstatic.
My first date with Lee and Rebecca was at a Mexican restaurant. We were all very excited to meet each other. We were all a bit nervous, especially Rebecca.
One look, what am I to do?
Both of them had that spark in their eye. Everybody was blushing. I mean, the energy was in the air. You can't deny that there was something there, but not just with one people, in between three people.
Losing control, can't let it go. Facing my ghost. What's a girl to do?
We just couldn't eat because we were talking so much. I remember it being about like 9:30, 10 o'clock. They were putting chairs on the table. We overstayed. We were very enveloped in one another's company. They both had strong factors that I liked. I can't say that I disliked anything.
Under your spell.
They begin seeing each other regularly.
At first, it started off casual. We had met for dinner a few more times before we started to hang out at their place alone together. You never really know how something's gonna pan out. I didn't wanna scare them away by coming off too strongly. But we all fell pretty hard for each other.
Rebecca delivers the latest news about her lifestyle to her mom.
It was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. We all got together. Everybody's sitting there, and she says, "Mom, this is Elite. This is my girlfriend." You know, I'm like, okay, if that's what floats your boat, go ahead, you know.
Having entered a polyamorous relationship with Lee and Rebecca Cawthon, Elite has a favorite.
I felt like I was more attracted to Lee. Lee definitely succeeded in wooing me. He was a bit taller than me, a very sharp jawline. He did a lot to really make a lasting impression with me.
After 12 months regularly dating, Rebecca, Lee, and Elite deepen their relationship. She moves in.
We decided to take our relationship to the next level. They were really private people, so to be invited into their home was a milestone in the relationship itself.
Elite is included in all parts of their lives.
We enjoyed waking up in the mornings and working at the liquor store together. I thought that part was pretty nice. They loved me more intensely than I had experienced or have.
As for Lutricia, again, she falls in line.
I had to accept our life at her terms. When you have someone that you love, to have time with that person, you have to accept it at how it is stipulated. It's just like if they were in prison, you know, you've only got certain days that you can go visit.
The decision to move in with Lee and Rebecca means Elite sees another side to Lee, one that does not appeal.
You could tell that he was established as the alpha out of the household.
In their relationship, Lee was the man of the house, and Rebecca was a caring motherly type.
He did not like to get his hands dirty. He was a man who sat with his legs crossed. So Rebecca was the one that did all of the labors. Lee came off as being very well taken care of and nurtured by his wife.
The three spend more time with each other playing computer games than running the store.
They enjoyed online gaming, almost to the point I would consider it an addiction.
Eventually, the liquor store just became not profitable, and they had to close the doors. You know, money became tight.
They were living minimally, and they had a bit of debt starting to accumulate. But I think they had a little bit of a taste for better after getting money working on the road. But money can also break a marriage.
As money problems mount, Elite makes a suggestion that Rebecca join her as an exotic dancer.
Take your shoes off, hit the floor.
Rebecca thought it looked fun. I was making a lot of money.
Why don't you take it off?
So it did solve a lot of their problems. The club was a great place. We had fun together.
So good.
Lee would come in sometimes as a customer, but he let us work because he knew that's how you made money.
Let me burn with this man.
But beneath the surface, Lee is struggling with the attention Rebecca's getting.
He was jealous of her dancing for other men, but she was also making money.
For Elite, working together is a chance to get to know Rebecca better.
It was always the three of them together. It was never Elite and Rebecca that got to spend time together without Lee there.
When we started working together is when we really clicked. I mean, we got to be ourselves alone and be girls with one another. We were also working in a sexual atmosphere, so I had to watch her perform all night, and she had to watch me perform. I think we both started to look really good to each other.
Over the next few months, Elite and Rebecca grow closer. Lee is no longer someone she has feelings for. She chooses Rebecca.
I did develop feelings for her that were so strong that I couldn't ignore them. I was falling in love with her.
She loved Elite. They were together. And every time she was over there, he would throw a temper tantrum. She was not happy.
You could see Elite and Rebecca as together. They were totally happy, dude. They were always cracking jokes with each other. And Lee is just the husband.
I was really careful about how I behaved towards him. I was never going to try to show him that I disliked him. I didn't want him to feel embarrassed that I was turned off from him. As soon as he noticed, I liked him even less. I couldn't force myself to entertain anything physical or emotional with him at all. It was very plain to see, and I think it disturbed him greatly.
As Elite falls further in love with Rebecca, she reaches a decision.
It became pretty intense to the point where it was painful knowing that I can't have an intimate relationship thrive with her without the quality of giving it to him. It wasn't an option to just like her. That poly life isn't supposed to be that way. I had laid down a boundary of, hey, I can't do this anymore. I can't be alone with you. This doesn't feel right anymore. Rebecca was hurt that I didn't want to engage with her anymore. Sometimes you have to break your own heart a bit to make sure you are loving yourself.
As Elite distances herself from Lee, she sees less of Rebecca. She and Lee start hanging out with Elite's friend and roommate, Thad, playing online computer games.
We had a bond. We were great friends. I was one of his only friends. I feel that was his real best friend.
Thad was very outgoing, friendly. Everybody liked him. He was a lot of fun to be around. I think Lee saw a younger version of himself in Thad.
But one night, while online gaming with the couple, Thad gets more than he bargained for.
We were just drinking and playing video games. Rebecca is like, hey, I think you're really hot. And I'm like, what? And I was like, is this a trap? Is there a camera? Am I getting punked? You know, and then Lee, he's like, yeah, nah, she really likes you, man. And it's like, no way. It did take me by surprise. I was not really into the open lifestyle like that. Someone's wife's hitting on you, you're like, man, you think I should do this, or is he gonna come in here and whoop my ass?
But although Rebecca and Lee have opened their marriage before, getting intimate with Thad is something new. He's the first man they've invited into their bed. Elite is regularly in touch with all three of them.
I didn't know that they would ever consider a male going into the relationship. It really blindsided me. That wasn't a part of their history. I don't know where Lee's motives really were in that. I know where Rebecca's were. You know, she enjoyed nice company.
Thad is also interested, but sexually only in Rebecca.
I did generally have love for Rebecca, and Lee was my friend. It's not like I loved him in any type of physical sense, but I could tell him anything. He's not gonna judge me. It wasn't like every time I hung out with him, we were having sex or nothing. I could probably count on my hands the amount of times it got even slightly physical.
Lee and Rebecca and whoever else they had in their relationship, they seemed to be happy and they seemed to be just fine with what they're doing in their relationship.
We were all friends.
Successful at the strip club and with Thad interested in her, Rebecca becomes less committed to her marriage.
When Rebecca got the job at the club, it definitely let their marriage spiral out of control. Because he was no longer there, joined at the hip.
I think it opened her up where she realized, you know, there's more out there than just being stuck at the house.
She was working really hard and felt underappreciated. As soon as she opened her eyes to that, she saw how lazy her husband was.
Alone at home, Lee begins drinking heavily.
He started to get drunk all the time. And that, I think she had a big problem with when she started to feel like he just was never gonna get up and do anything again.
He's like, oh man, she's gonna go find someone better than me. I don't have a job, I'm just kind of living off what I got. It scared him. So I'm sure that did create a rift between them. I started realizing, hey, what's going on? Like, this is getting a little rocky.
In spring of 2017, Lutricia and Rebecca sit down for a family meal.
The Sunday before Easter, we did family dinner day. And before they left, I hugged her in my arms and kissed her on her cheek and told her I loved her. And I loved her more than the moon and stars, more than chocolate, which was one of our things. She said, I love you too.
On April 16th, Rebecca finishes her shift at the club. She, Lee, and Thad have been together all evening.
He was really late picking her up from work that night. He had definitely had a lot to drink. She was not used to him picking her up drunk and would never accept anybody driving drunk either. She was mad because he failed to take care of her. He can't even pick her up from work on time. And leaving your wife stranded at the strip club is not a safe place to be. It was like that broke her trust in that moment.
The couple argue all the way to Thad's house.
I could tell he was mad and upset, and she was mad and upset. And I was like, yo, if y'all want to talk about this, I'm right here.
Lee and Rebecca head home. Early the next morning, Thad is woken up.
It's not quite daylight yet, and I hear someone beating on the door. And I'm like, what in the world? I thought the house was on fire or something. I open the door and I see Rebecca standing there, and she was beat up bad. I just started crying. There was bite marks. You could see teeth imprints. You can see actual fist indents that are the outline of bruises. My first thought was, oh God, someone had went up there and robbed them. I was like, something bad has happened to their family.
Rebecca Cawthon has been badly beaten.
Ask her, who did this, man? Who beat you up like this? Because I'm gonna f them up. I couldn't believe it. She said, Lee did this.
He had pushed her down to the floor. He had hit her in the temple.
I mean, he really went a number on her.
As she was like coming back to, she could hear him saying, oh man, like I think I've killed her.
I was mad. I was upset with him. You're supposed to be my friend. That's your wife.
She decided that she had to get the hell out of there.
Lutricia has been expecting her daughter to visit for Easter.
We were going to take a picnic up towards Highlands, North Carolina, and stop at one of the little roadside tables like we used to do when she was a little girl. She called me that evening. She says, Mom, something happened and I can't come over. She told me what had happened. He had beaten her so badly, he thought he killed her, and she drug herself to the hospital.
About yesterday, I'm sorry about Easter. I had my final incident with my husband. I went to the hospital. I got some stitches. Staying with friends. I'm fine. I'm trying to minimize the damage. Anyway, I love you. Promise you need something.
When she told me what happened to Jake, I said, well, it's time we start looking for us a place to live. I said, I will not let him touch you, Rebecca. I said, he will not hurt you no more.
Rebecca keeps what's happened as private as she can.
She tried to cover it all up. She told the hospital that she fell down the stairs. She presented her information to him with her maiden name. They believed her falling down the stairs story, though.
Lee quickly works out where Rebecca is. She's at Thad's.
The he was texting me was crazy. He tried to act like he was Scarface or something. I'm like, look, I don't know what happened the other night between y'all, but this ain't acceptable. I said, she don't want to go back home. Apparently you messed up bad. Oh, it's not what you think. Oh, she's crazy.
She was texting me the entire time. She told me that she felt like a coward. She felt like a sorry, battered woman for not dying for him. I couldn't even understand why my friend was telling me that she felt guilty for not dying for someone. It was hard.
The couple begin exchanging texts. Rebecca makes it clear she'll come by to collect her things, but it's over between her and Lee.
She had made up her mind she wasn't going back and sent me a message saying that she was getting a divorce.
Thad and Elite agree Rebecca should stay at Thad's and not be left alone.
Her phone just wouldn't stop going off. Lee was sending her a large amount of messages, freaking out that she wasn't coming home. She had never not spent a night at home with him, ever. We're talking over 15 years of sleeping next to somebody.
I locked all the doors and I went and got a gun.
With Rebecca alone with the armed Thad, Elite feels comforted.
I had left to go out of town. Rebecca had told me she felt safe. She said she wasn't going back to him, that Thad was gonna comfort her and take care of her at the house. Me and Thad, we touched base and agreed that we would never leave Rebecca alone until I got home.
Rebecca has other ideas.
She was like, I'm hungry. You mind going to get me some Chick-fil-A? And I was like, you wanna come with me? She's like, nah, I think I'm just gonna stay back. I'm not gonna tell her no. You just went through a lot. When I walk out of this house, lock all the doors.
30 minutes later, Thad is back at the house.
Hey, Rebecca, I got your food.
I got back, wasn't there. No sign.
Rebecca?
Oh, I looked around, tried to call her, text her. Car's not there. That's when fear sets in. That's when your heart drops out of your chest. That's when I knew something bad was really gonna happen, because you don't just up and leave without saying goodbye.
Confused, Thad calls Elite.
Hey, Elite, it's Dad.
I told her she's gone. She said, what? I said, she ain't here.
Out of town, Elite calls Rebecca.
I can hear all the commotion of a car. I can hear the windows down, the radio on. Oh my gosh, where are you? She's like, oh, I'm driving to my old house. I'm gonna go get some of my things. I can't leave them behind. I was like, are you sure about this? No, it's okay. Really, I got this, is what she told me. I could not seem to talk her out of it. I said, I'm gonna give you like 20, 30 minutes in the house. It doesn't take that long to grab anything. And I said, if it goes past half an hour, then I know you're in some trouble.
Later, Elite tries to get a hold of Rebecca again.
I called over like 35 times within like 3 or 4 hours. I haven't heard from her. She never called.
She is expected at her mother's, but does not arrive.
When she didn't show up, I called Sheriff's Department.
Lutricia asks police to meet her at the couple's home.
The guy shows up. We're walking all over the property. I'm the one yelling my head off, calling her name, screaming her name. I'm like, can you not just kick the frickin' door in? It's called a wellness check. There's nothing to worry about. She's an adult. In my heart, I'm trying to have the hope that there's nothing wrong.
Tricia called me when she was at the property. The house was silent. There was just no sign of life anymore.
Rebecca has vanished, and so has Lee.
And that's when the nightmare that never ends started. When Rebecca disappeared. I'm going, God, I'm putting her in your hands.
The day after Rebecca and Lee disappear, the case is passed to detectives.
We came into work and we would review our cases that came in from the night before, and we saw the missing person case, and we decided, looking at it, it needed to be looked into further.
As police try to discover what happened, reassurance arrives in the form of text messages from Rebecca.
Been getting these texts on my phone from Rebecca.
Texting her mother and some of her friends, telling them she was in a friend's house or that she was getting away for a while.
Hey, I made it back to Mom's. I'm safe. We're cuddling now. That's not how Rebecca talks.
They thought the messages were strange, and they did make sense, but it was coming from her phone.
Lee gets in touch with his family with a remarkable claim. One of the polyamorous 4 is not who he seems.
We get some disturbing news from Lee's brother, who stated that Lee had told him that Thad was a hitman for some gang.
Whoa, this came out of left field.
Knowing that Thad was the last person that Rebecca was with kind of made us start looking a little bit that way.
What do you know about
what is this now?
8 days since Rebecca is missing, Thad is brought in for questioning.
When is the last time
You spoke with her.
That Easter.
Easter Day or?
It was later in the evening on Easter.
I get why they did it. I'm the last person. You would think it would be me. You're a cop. You gotta start from the bottom up, not knowing anything about these people.
Because I'm not gonna lie to you. I was the last person to see her. I think. I don't know who the she went and saw. I don't know where she went. If I did, I'd be there by now.
Well, yeah, but what about, that's what I don't understand.
I don't
Not like it just her disappeared, it's her and Lee.
But do you believe they're together? Let me ask you that.
Could be. They could be together.
Detectives find no evidence that Thad's a hitman.
Nobody thought that about me. No one ever called me a hitman. None of that.
He is released and Rebecca remains officially missing. 16 days missing, Lutricia repeatedly calls Lee's phone as well as Rebecca's.
I had been calling him constantly. Where are you? Where's Rebecca? Have you found her yet? You have lied to me for the last friggin' time. Where is Rebecca? That day he went and turned himself into the sheriff's department.
You'll have your seat right here on this side. We'll be with you in just a few minutes. Let's get some paperwork together, okay?
On the 16th day since Rebecca's gone missing, Lee Cawthon walks into the Oconee County Police Department.
So what's on your mind?
We had a fight on Easter. I guess everybody knows that by now.
Mm-hmm.
And she took off to our mutual boyfriend's house for a couple days, and she came back, and we got in another fight.
Lee gives his version of events to detectives.
Once Rebecca returned home, she was greeted by Lee, who was, upset that she hadn't come home.
She actually started packing her stuff, told him that she was leaving. That's when the jealousy towards Thad actually went into high gear.
Thad was her boyfriend.
Thaddeus is?
Yeah, our threesome boyfriend. And our threesome girlfriend is Elite.
He wanted to look at her phone, and she refused.
And about her phone, and, she wouldn't let me see it.
He got a hold of her phone, started going through it. Phone calls, text messages.
I saw they had been cuddling and watching a movie together, and then she had made up his bed, and they cooked together and stuff like that.
I think at that point in time, Lee lost control.
He pulled a gun out of a pocket, and he shot her in the stomach.
No, I ended up shooting her. I shot her.
He probably thought, if I can't have her, nobody's gonna have her.
She fell down and was in obvious pain.
There was evidence that she tried to defend herself.
He had wanted to put her out of her misery, as he said, and he shot her several more times.
Since it was a heat of the moment thing, I wasn't thinking or even intending. And then once I did it, and I guess it was in this area, I don't know exactly. And then because of my beliefs, I didn't want her to suffer. So I did a few more.
She was still making a gurgling noise. He went ahead, shot her once in the head, and ended her life.
She had fallen back. I guess I heard a gurgle or something, and I did one more.
After killing her, Lee finds somewhere to hide Rebecca's body in the back of the house.
And then he wrapped her up in plastic and duct tape. And inside the shop, there's an old oil pits that are in the ground, and he had put her in an oil drum that had oil in it.
Put the lid back on and then shoved it up underneath in the oil change grease pit.
Covered it all in trash, and then the tractor was over the top of it, so it completely concealed her.
And her body's in the oil pit?
Yes, sir, that's right.
Where he had stashed her body, you really wouldn't have pulled that old barrel out and necessarily looked. Once he got that cleaned up, he took off and went to see his friend in Oklahoma. He went out there for 2 or 3 days before ultimately deciding to return home and face what he had coming.
Investigators break the distressing news to Rebecca's friends and mother.
Did she cry for me? Did she even ask for me?
Elite had called Rebecca constantly while she was missing.
I felt like I couldn't move. I laid out on the floor. I know that she probably died listening to me call for her over and over and over again, her ringer going off.
No one should have to die that way. Could you imagine killing someone you loved? I mean, what, was he crying the whole time he did it? Like, I don't know, man.
Lee pleads guilty to murder.
At first glance, this appeared to be a person who just snapped and shot his wife, but he executed her. He shot her in the head to kill her.
Lee takes a plea deal. He's sentenced to 45 years for murder and possession of a weapon during a violent crime.
I was standing right behind him in the courtroom. I could have done whatever I wanted.
He was stone cold in the courtroom, and that's evil. That's a person that can't be saved.
3 years into his sentence, Lee requests to be put into solitary confinement. Alone and powerless, he takes action.
Lee's whole life was about control. He even controlled how it ended by taking his own life.
If you're not running from anything, why would you put yourself in solitary confinement? It's because you wanted the opportunity to end your own life. Yeah, it was the last execution he could have over control.
Took the coward way out, and I figured he would. It was just a matter of time. I think it's the best route that he just did it for himself.
Rebecca came into the world despite warnings to her mother about health risks. A miracle daughter now taken from her mother.
It's a never-ending nightmare. It's been 5 years in April, right? I still don't sleep, hardly at all.
The amount of good she's done for my life and other people's lives in this community, there's no price tag on that. I just wish she could have grew old, you know, to see what she could have done in this community away from Lee. It'd have been something.
It's hard to put into words how beautiful loving her was. It was easy to fall in love with her, and the harder I fell for her, the easier it was for me just to build this disgust for him.
No parent should ever outlive their child. It never stops, it never quits. I hear her calling Mommy. Mom, Mommy, Mom. It never stops.